Smash here, doing a little bit of drive talking. I tell you what, old school wrestling I love. Yeah, you know, WWE and all that kind of stuff, but the old school. I'm talking about guys like Dick the Bruiser, who I got blessed with. Dick and I became friends, and the Crusher, who was kind of like his cousin, but wasn't his cousin. But he was the Crusher, so you had the Bruiser and the Crusher. That was a magnificent tag team combination. The Flying Kangaroos, another one of my favorite, because he was just like, it's a couple of good old boys, and they acted with Australian accents, and they were the Flying Kangaroos, because they would get up on the top rope and then fly upon their opponent and thus pin them with that flight, because they'd land on them and knock them out, and then you pin them, boing, 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 3 count, you is out. And I tell you what I loved, because I had the good fortune of becoming a friend with Dick the Bruiser, and he employed me to be a color commentator at a number of his matches, because back then guys owned territories, and Dick's territory was like Indianapolis, a little bit into northern Indiana, touching Michigan, then sliding over a little bit into Ohio. And for my St. Louis friends who are watching, everybody knows Sam Munchnick, who ruled wrestling, and Larry Matisick for that matter, as far as wrestling was concerned in the St. Louis area. So I'm riding up to Fort Wayne, Indiana with Dick the Bruiser. Magnificent. And Dick always had Cadillacs. I mean, always had Cadillacs. He was All-American all the way. Said, yeah, I'm going Cadillac style. No problems whatsoever, as I always like to say. So we're up there and he's giving me tips. And he says, you know, I want you to be my color commentator. I said, well, I don't know how to do that stuff. He said, I need you tonight to be a color commentator. He said, you watch wrestling all the years, right? Yeah, my dad used to take us to wrestling matches, the Northside Armory, shall we say, also at Channel 6. I think it was Channel 6 in Indianapolis, but one of the TV stations over there that carried wrestling, it was right there in the studio. Like you would have a news studio, they had an actual wrestling studio in there. So I'm going up there. Dick the Bruiser gets me there. I'm sitting at the table with the announcer. I'm now the color commentator because this is on TV. And so I knew all the great moves, the closer moves, like the Iron Claw, Baron von Raschke, and he would apply the Iron Claw and nobody could get out of the Iron Claw, and just boom, you were dead as far as your performance capability is concerned, because you were paralyzed by the Iron Claw. I'm not applying it too tight right now because I'm driving. Otherwise, I would be paralyzed with the Iron Claw. But you had to make sure that you called it colorfully enough to make it translate over the tube. That's what we used to call TVs back then. Over the tube, so that the wrestling fan would get excited about it. And so Baron von Raschke puts the Iron Claw on a guy's head, or for the most part on a guy's abs, on his stomach, and that would paralyze them massively, because all of a sudden you wind up getting into a fetal position because your stomach is all crunched up because the Baron has got, luckily I don't have abs, his claw on you. So, color commentating, Baron von Raschke getting ready to take on the opponent here. The opponent on the mat. The opponent on the mat. I'm trying to decide who the opponent is. Really don't know right now. Let's just say the opponent is Prince Pullins. All right, Prince Pullins on the mat. I used to love Prince Pullins because I once saw Prince Pullins on a bus in downtown Indianapolis. He was just like a normal dude, but the Prince was there, man. And Prince Pullins was being defeated by Baron von Raschke, and then the application of the Iron Claw will totally debilitate Prince Pullins. Let's see what happens. The claw has been applied. And Baron von Raschke, of course, and he was German. Everybody hated Germans because of World War II at that particular point in time. So the Baron was doing, and Prince Pullins is acting like, and in the end, the weakest is the thing that won out. Baron von Raschke. I got the job as color commentator after that. Just because of the fact you have to be explicit, and yet at the same time know how to embellish appropriately if you're going to be a color commentator. Now, another great move. I once had opportunity backstage, back out of the fans' view, shall we say, backstage of the wrestling, to talk with the Sheik, also known as the Iron Sheik at various points in time. So I asked the Sheik, I said, hey, I can say this the wrong way, but Sheik was another guy like Baron von Raschke who was an American, but because he was of Middle Eastern descent, all of a sudden became the Sheik. Just like Bob Jones, or whatever his real name was, became Baron von Raschke, the German, the hated German World War II veteran. Anyway, so the Sheik is, I said, this camel hump that you do, which is your closing move, is this not dangerous to the back of the person? Because you're sitting on the guy's back, you got him under his chin, and you're pulling him back like this, pulling him back like this. And he said, no, I'm gonna give you a secret. If anybody ever camel humps you and you want it not to hurt, I'm gonna tell you what, make sure you are the one who are arching your back. Don't let the camel humper arch you back, because if he arches your back, all of a sudden, yeah, you could have dislocated, discs or whatever the case might be in your vertebral column. With that in mind, understand, if you're ever put in a camel hump, to arch yourself, and thus by arching yourself, you know what your limitation is as far as your pain level is concerned, and there's no pain. But it looks like the Sheik is killing you because he's riding that camel. So, just a couple of the moves there. But to me, the ultimate move, as far as any of all these moves was concerned, is, well, the carotid clutch. Because anybody who knows anything about medicine knows that the carotid artery, right there, this big one, right on your neck, you lose a carotid artery, you wind up dizzy like you ain't ever been dizzy before. And that was a signature move on so many wrestlers' parts, whether it be the Crusher, whether it be the Bruiser, whether it be Cowboy Bob Ellis, whether it be Wilbur Snyder, the world's most scientific wrestler. They all knew the carotid clutch, because the carotid clutch was more than a paralyzer. It would knock you out. And the carotid clutch, of course, is, and thus the carotid artery, when it has almost a claw-like presence upon it, will stop. And in the stoppage of that beating, what happens? Out like a light. Don't even worry about it. Ref won't even give you a 3 count, because you have been clutched out, baby. The carotid clutch. Anybody ever does that to you, just go and act like you're knocked out, because if it does knock you out, you ain't gonna be back for a little while. So just a few of the great wrestling moves, as Asher Smashing didn't do, reminisce in my own individualistic fashion and turn you on to what, in my opinion, is the foundation of the greatness of this country. And in that historical lecture that you've just heard, you have been doing nothing else but digging the smash. Do not allow the carotid clutch to grab you. I did not. Otherwise, I'd have been knocked out. We'd have been in a wreck. You'd have never seen this again. And how bad would you miss that?